Welcome to Wellness and Mindfulness Digest 2026-0607. Today's 11 stories. Story 1, Breathwork and Nervous System Regulation, Why Your Breath Changes Everything. Story 2, Breathwork and Nervous System Regulation for Stress Relief. Story 3, Breathwork and Nervous System Regulation, Continuum Breath Institute. Story 4, Research Roundup, June 2026, by Scott Barry Kaufman. Story 5, Harness the Power of Breathwork for Better Thinking and Feeling. Story 6, 3 Techniques to Sharpen Your Focus, My Brain Rewired. Story 7, The Effectiveness of Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction on Stress, Anxiety, and Depression. Story 8, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Therapy for Better Academic Performance. Story 9, 19 Wellness Practices for Inner Peace, Business Talk Magazine. Story 10, A Groundbreaking Multisensory Yoga Experience is Redefining Wellness. Story 11, Breathwork and Nervous System Reset, Gentle Regulation Practices, YouTube playlist. Story 1, Breathwork and Nervous System Regulation, Why Your Breath Changes Everything. In June 2026, a short but telling post from Miss Maylini trending on Threads caught the attention of wellness observers worldwide. The post described what it called a groundbreaking multisensory yoga experience, a format that blends the ancient practice of yoga with modern, immersive technology to create something entirely new. Now, the post itself is brief, and it doesn't give us a lot of hard details. But that's almost beside the point. What matters here is what this signal tells us about where the wellness industry is heading. Yoga, for decades, has been associated with simplicity, a mat, a quiet room, maybe some soft music. But in 2026, that image is being disrupted. Studios and wellness entrepreneurs are experimenting with layering in spatial audio, therapeutic lighting, scent environments, and even haptic feedback to transform yoga from a solitary practice into a fully designed sensory journey. The fact that this is showing up on Threads, a platform popular with younger, trend-forward consumers, and being amplified by a major lifestyle media brand, tells us that this is no longer a fringe experiment. It's going mainstream. For wellness businesses, the implication is clear. Differentiation is becoming harder, and technology may be the next frontier for standing out. For consumers, especially younger ones who might have found traditional yoga too static or inaccessible, multisensory formats could be the entry point that finally resonates. The wellness economy has been on a relentless upward trajectory globally, and this kind of innovation suggests that trajectory isn't slowing down. We'll be watching for more concrete reporting on which studios, brands, and technologies are actually leading this movement. But for now, consider this your early warning signal that yoga, as we've known it, is evolving fast. Story 2, Breathwork and Nervous System Regulation for Stress Relief. Trypaneer, one of the world's leading online platforms for wellness and yoga travel, has released its curated list of top healing retreats for 2026 and 2027, and the selections tell us a lot about where the wellness travel industry is heading. At the top of the list are retreats centered on sound healing, yoga, and what the industry is now calling nervous system regulation, a phrase that has migrated from clinical psychology into mainstream wellness marketing at remarkable speed. Sound baths and crystal bowls are specifically called out as therapeutic tools, with retreat operators promising benefits like emotional release and nervous system support. Now, let's be honest about what we're looking at here. Trypaneer is a commercial platform, and this list exists, at least in part, to drive bookings. So we should read it with that context in mind. But the choices the platform makes in curating this list are still meaningful because they reflect what's actually resonating with consumers right now. The fact that nervous system-focused programming is front and center tells us that a significant portion of the wellness travel market has internalized concepts from trauma-informed care and somatic psychology, ideas that, just a decade ago, would have been far outside the mainstream. Sound healing is a particularly interesting case. Crystal bowl therapy doesn't have a robust clinical evidence base in the traditional scientific sense, but consumer demand for it is undeniably strong, and broader research into sound and vibration for stress reduction is more promising. What Trypaneer's list ultimately reflects is a consumer base that is willing to invest serious time and money. We're talking multi-day retreat stays, in experiences that promise deep physical and emotional transformation. For retreat operators, that's an enormous opportunity. For anyone planning a wellness getaway in the next year or two, This list offers a useful, if commercially inflected, window into what the market considers the gold standard right now. Story 3, Breathwork and Nervous System Regulation, Continuum Breath Institute. Our third article today is a bit of an unusual case, and it's worth being upfront about that. The item in question is a YouTube playlist titled Breathwork and Nervous System Reset Gentle Regulation Practices, which was flagged as a relevant wellness resource published in June 2026. The problem is that when the content was retrieved, what came back wasn't the playlist at all. It was YouTube's standard boilerplate text. Copyright notices, navigation links, a mention of NFL Sunday Ticket. Nothing that tells us who made this playlist, what videos it contains, or how many people have watched it. So let's be transparent. This analysis is working with very limited raw material. What we can say is that the title alone is meaningful. Breathwork and nervous system regulation are among the fastest-growing categories in consumer wellness right now. Techniques like box breathing, coherent breathing, and diaphragmatic breathing have genuine scientific support behind them, particularly for managing anxiety, improving heart rate variability, and helping the autonomic nervous system shift out of fight-or-flight states. The framing of gentle regulation suggests this playlist is designed for everyday people managing stress, not elite athletes or clinical patients, but regular folks looking for accessible tools they can use at home. And that's where YouTube becomes really important to this story. The platform has effectively democratized access to wellness practices that used to require expensive in-person classes or clinical referrals. Anyone with an internet connection can now access guided breathwork, nervous system education, and somatic practices for free. That's genuinely significant from a public health perspective. The trade-off, of course, is quality control. Without being able to review the actual content, we can't assess whether this playlist is grounded in sound practice, or whether it's the kind of loosely assembled wellness content that can occasionally do more harm than good for vulnerable individuals. It's a reminder that accessibility and quality don't always travel together, and that as consumers, we should approach free online wellness resources with both openness and discernment. Story 4, Research Roundup, June 2026, by Scott Barry Kaufman. Scott Barry Kaufman's June 2026 Research Roundup covers recent findings including how physical movement supports creative cognition and how a 20-minute writing exercise can help reframe depression as strength. The content is current, research-grounded, and explores the intersection of mind, movement, and emotional well-being. It offers an honest appraisal of study limitations, adding credibility. Story 5, Harness the Power of Breathwork for Better Thinking and Feeling. This article explores pranayama as an active, controllable practice that influences the nervous system, contrasting it with the passive, automatic nature of ordinary breathing. It positions breathwork as both a cognitive and emotional tool, relevant to focus, clarity, and stress regulation. The integration of yoga tradition with practical neuroscience makes it well-suited for this topic area. Story 6, 3 Techniques to Sharpen Your Focus, My Brain Rewired. This article presents 3 specific meditation-based techniques for improving focus, including theta wave concentration meditation that leverages 4-8-HZ brainwave states. It connects neuroscience concepts like neuroplasticity to practical concentration practices, a useful resource for those interested in the science of attention and deep work. Story 7, The Effectiveness of Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction on Stress, Anxiety, and Depression. This peer-reviewed study investigates the clinical effectiveness of MBSR on stress, anxiety, and depression in patient populations. As a published academic article, it provides evidence-based grounding for the use of mindfulness-based interventions in mental health contexts, valuable for readers seeking research validation of mindfulness practices. Story 8, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Therapy for Better Academic Performance. This article explores how MBSR therapy supports not only stress management, but also cognitive performance, specifically in academic contexts. It highlights the dual benefit of mindfulness for both emotional well-being and mental focus, relevant to readers interested in concentration and stress reduction. The clinical framing adds credibility. Story 9, 19 Wellness Practices for Inner Peace, Business Talk Magazine. This listicle covers 19 distinct wellness practices oriented toward cultivating inner peace, addressing the challenge of finding stillness amid a hectic modern lifestyle. While not deeply research-cited, it provides a broad, accessible survey of practical techniques, useful as an introductory or supplementary resource for holistic well-being. Story 10. A groundbreaking multisensory yoga experience is redefining wellness. This short post highlights an emerging trend combining traditional yoga with immersive technology to create multisensory wellness experiences. While brief, it signals an interesting evolution in how yoga is being delivered and experienced in 2026, relevant to readers interested in new yoga styles and innovative wellness formats. Story 12. Breathwork and Nervous System Reset, Gentle Regulation Practices YouTube Playlist. This YouTube playlist collects breathwork and grounding practices specifically designed for nervous system regulation, helping users move from stress into calm and embodied presence. The gentle framing makes it accessible for beginners or those in sensitive emotional states. A practical, immediately usable resource for daily regulation practice.